Exactly. All right, let's shift gears into the next story, which I think is actually really important. It says a lot about Tucker Carlson being offered $100 million by Patrick Bet-David. If you don't know who he is, he's a YouTuber. He's a kind of a media personality. He's got a lot of different things going on. He's got several different businesses, and he's a wealthy guy as well. And he put an offer on the table publicly because he thinks that it's important that there's transparency in deals like this. And what does that mean to an average person like me or you, Ed? Well, I think that it's actually pretty important because there's a lot of people out there saying Tucker had 12 to 18 months, maybe as much as 2 years to run on his contract. And he's getting a little bit too lippy. And they had to clip his wings because he's too lippy. And the problem is that he's vehemently anti-war and he's vehemently anti-Democrat. And if he's going against the mainstream media and the mainstream narrative, he's got to go. So the reason that this is important is if there's a large deal on the table for someone like that that's so tempting, then what that means is we have that voice of reason. And there's a lot of talk about Rumble and Twitter coming together to actually put something together like that. And, I think we might be seeing a little bit of a shift in what's actually happening in the media landscape. And Megyn Kelly did a really good job the other day. I should have found the clip, but I can kind of explain it. The day before Tucker had left, he had like 1.7 million views on his channel, on TV, that is. And then the next day it was like similar, it was 1.6 or something like that. Then there was the weekend, he was shit canned. And then at the same time slot on the Monday, it was like 900,000. And then all of a sudden the next day it had gone to like 400,000, 500,000. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, he put out that one single video on Twitter that goes for 2 minutes. And it's really like, hey, good evening, it's Tucker Carlson. It's just his normal evening monologue saying, and he's like, the conversations we have don't mean anything. The whole thing's meaningless. Doesn't mean anything. In 5 years' time, you won't even remember these stupid conversations that are causing all this problem. Trust me, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know exactly what I'm talking about. But the guy goes on Twitter and gets 80 million views. Like, don't the people in mainstream media understand that the only people watching the TV shows are the ones that are, who are they? Who is the demographic? They must be an older demographic. Because if you're only getting 1.5 million views per episode of the biggest TV anchor in the world, and then he goes out and puts out one tweet and gets 80 million views, and then they can't, why would you do that? Like, it's almost like the Green New, there must be the same people with the Green New Deal. You're cutting off your nose to spite your face. Your whole company's going to implode because of it. It's like ridiculous, man.
Well, you're assuming that profits are important to those people.
You're assuming energy is important to those greenies as well.
That's right.
Or turning your dishwasher on is important.
And that's kind of a big assumption that you, because we talked about this last week. Remember the segment I did where I showed the meme of Darth Vader taking on, killing Obi-Wan Kenobi.
There it is. It came out literally a day later.
Right. I predicted that day. This was the day after he came. I predicted he's going to be more powerful than ever, and the powers to be just made him more powerful. They made him a martyr, and he was on the Fox platform. I mean, if they're interested in profits, he was their number one guy. If they're profit driven, you don't get rid of your number one guy. That's not sound business practice.
And that's why I say he's vehemently anti-war.
Yeah.
No, he's not anti-war. He's just, all he's doing is speaking his truth.
Yeah.
He's saying Zelensky comes to your Congress and addresses people in a freaking jumper. Yeah. And then comes in there and has the nerve to ask for more money and then
demand more money. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And just the way that he behaves is just like not in line with the way that American politicians behave. And he's just calling him out on it. And people don't like that he's going against the mainstream narrative. So maybe there's something else at play here. It's not a conspiracy theory or anything like that, but it's just a question. And you've got to ask yourself when you see these things happening, like, why would someone like Patrick Bet-David offer him $100 million?
No,
why would they do that?
Yeah, I know why. We'll get to that.
Let's cover that. What do you got?
I want to close the loop on this one point, though. Remember, we've talked before how CNN and MSNBC, these other channels with this god awful ratings, where the Cartoon Network on a regular basis beats their ratings.
And more children watch TV than watch
Yeah.
news.
But yet they don't let down on their messaging. Their messaging is exactly the same all the time.
It's
And
crazy,
you would think that if they wanted to improve their ratings, they would change their messaging. But nope. So for them, it's a function of ideology. These outfits, these news outfits, these are just branches of larger corporations.
That's the only thing it could be, right?
Yeah.
I think you're bang on there. It can only be the ideology. And so, sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
they're a function of a bigger thing.
Yeah, well, yeah. So they consider these news operations as a lost leader for them, and it's just a mouthpiece way of getting out, their agendas and their philosophies. So they don't care if they're losing money on it, because that's not the point of that. The point of that, I'm sure, if I thought about it, I could think of a consumer. I'm sure there are products out there, companies out there who have a product that's actually a lost leader, but it gets them out. It like expands their market. It's kind of like a
There's
pathfinder.
other things they sell. Yeah.
Right. So for them, these are woke people, and I've noticed, because I am a big Fox follower, and I have been for years, because they were the only source on available, at least in mainstream media, to cover any kind of traditional point of view on subject matter. But at the same time, they offered the other side as well. So it was a good, well-balanced channel. But that has changed over just the past few years. It has become more woke. And right now, and I was down to Tucker.
That was it.
Yeah, Tucker is one on one. So I'm one of those people who the next
Now you're
day,
off. You switched off.
the next day, I watched 5 minutes of The Replacement. It was Kildarn, whatever his name is. And 5 minutes in, 2 minutes in, that's it. And I haven't watched it since. So they lost me. So I can speak for that. And the only one I was watching was Tucker. A good indication of that was, their 5 o'clock slot where the Bret Baier show, and he does, which is the hard news, segment. They never, ever used any of Tucker's clips right. And he recently interviewed like Elon Musk. He had just finished a 3-part series interview with Elon Musk. That was a real get. That was a real score for him. They didn't, and they covered a lot of really good material. But on the Bret Baier, they didn't cover any of that material. Because Tucker has brought to light, when Tucker did a week-long expose on the January 6th commission and how they were not showing footage how they were manipulating footage, and Tucker broke it open. He says, see, they lied to you. They only showed you this, but if you look at more, it shows you this is the actual things that happened. They didn't cover any of that in the Bret Baier hour. So you can tell that inside there was a philosophical disagreement.
It's compartmentalized is your way to describe that. They're not cross-pollinating their news anchors and their stories and stuff.
So let's get on to the $100 million deal, because that's
before you go there, I just want to sum it up. I think I can sum it up in one word. Yeah. How would you sum it up in one word?
Boy, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. I don't know. You got me.
So I thought of this the day before, when I was driving to the gym in the morning after finishing the show with you, driving to the gym, and I saw there was 2 bus stops. They're probably, 400 meters apart. One bus stop has the Channel 9 logo. So imagine the bus stop, it's like as big as a person, like one side, and the ad there, and it's facing inwards, not the outward side of it, the inward side where the people sit in the bus stop. And it's got the Channel 9 logo. So here in Australia, you've got CNN, MSNBC, you've got Fox. We've got 9, 10, 7, and ABC and SBS. We've got really 5 channels, same sort of thing, right? So Channel 9 logo. And then I drive along another 400 meters later, same thing, Channel 9 logo. And I thought to myself, in one word, I can sum that up. You are irrelevant. Your delivery, your programming, everything to do with National 9 News and with Channel 9 is now actually irrelevant. And now everything to do with Fox is irrelevant.
Yep, I agree.
That's because you can get all of that elsewhere, and you can get it from people who don't have an axe to grind or an agenda to perpetuate.
Yep.
And that's why podcasting is so popular. That's why audiobooks are so popular. You know, if I could read 100 books a year, I'd sit there and read them, but I can't read that many books. I don't have the time, but I can listen to them. That's why they're popular. And that's why podcasting is so popular, is just a couple of people having a conversation.